Okay. Alright, sorry we're doing this on a Saturday. I had to work Thursday nights. Well, last Thursday night. Just real life gets in the way sometimes. It's also the reason why I couldn't live tweet during Impact, because I couldn't watch that show live either. So, I'm going to try, I emphasize try, to do both this and the Impact review today. Hopefully my voice holds up. So I'm going to do, let's try a quick review of S.H.I.E.L.D., because that's the only show I have to review, the only comic show I have to review this week, because Arrow and Flash are still on hiatus. And try to do that quickly because I have to get to the dump at some point before 3 o'clock, because garbage is really piling up. I have to get rid of that. And then I'll come back and we'll crank out the Impact review. So, let's just get started. Okay. Alright. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Season 4, Episode 17, Identity and Change. Daisy is getting Coulson to slowly remember things. Ward takes them and Simmons into S.H.I.E.L.D., which is run by Jeffrey Mace, the Patriot. They think Radcliffe might be the key to getting out of the framework, so they fly off to find him, while Daisy goes back into Hydra while her cover is not completely blown to try to get intel, but she's outed as a traitor by Mac, who is just doing what he has to do to protect his framework daughter. And goddamn, it is going to be heartbreaking when he finds out that she's not real. Meanwhile, Fitz can tell that Madame Hydra Octopussy is keeping things from him, and she does tell him about Simmons, albeit reluctantly, which seems to rattle his cage a little bit, but it's going to take more than that to break Ada's hold on him, because she's dug her claws in so deep. So May captures Daisy. Fitz and Octopussy have a talk with Radcliffe, who tries to snap Fitz out of it, but Fitz isn't quite there yet, and murders Agnes, much to Simmons' dismay, and Simmons hasn't even seen the worst part yet. You know, it's funny to me how this season we've seen both The Flash and S.H.I.E.L.D. take the same basic idea of changed backstories and parallel realities and that type of stuff and do such radically different things with it. With The Flash, I'm still baffled how they could take an idea with so much potential and just completely flush it down the toilet. And that's the show where alternate realities and timelines are a huge part of the world and the mythology. And this infamous storyline from the comics and the animated universe to get inspiration from. But they just took that story and let it go to waste like they didn't even care. And then there's S.H.I.E.L.D. doing the same basic idea for just a couple of episodes. And they're milking it for all it's worth. Friends become enemies, enemies become friends, good people have turned into monsters, there are kids that they're going to have to say goodbye to and probably remember afterward. Their worst enemy is alive again, but he's an ally now. There's so much juicy material to work with. So many cool things you can do with this scenario. This is how a parallel reality storyline should be done. On The Flash, Iris and Joe are having an argument. Woo! Scintillating. Whereas last week's episode was about just introducing us to the world of the framework, this one is more about introducing us to the people in it and what degree it has a hold over them. And the writers did a really nice thing here, which by having each member of the team in a different place in terms of how deeply they're ensconced in it. Coulson just needs a little nudge to start remembering things. Mac is resistant at first, but once he compromises the person that he is in the real world, he starts to realize that, oh, wait, this is not who I am. You know, he's still oblivious to this reality, but he also shows an inclination to being the Mac that everybody remembers. Mace doesn't remember who he is, but he's still more or less acting the same way he would. May is pretty much the framework's bitch for the time being. but she's been in there for weeks, so that's to be expected. And Fitz is the one with the most interesting reaction. Right now, he's very much the person that Ada has turned him into, an amoral, sadistic bastard. But in those scenes where he's alone with Octopussy, you can see there's something inside him that's fighting against this. How his voice shakes at times when he suspects that she's not being straight with him. He knows that something about this situation, about this world, is not right. He knows Octopussy is keeping things from him, and he doesn't know what or why, but he feels compelled to figure it out. It's just that the methods he's using to figure it out are byproducts of the person that Ada has turned him into. So, going by that, despite what this episode would have us believe, I think the member of the team most deeply embedded in the framework is actually May and not Fitz. But I like that every character has reacted to the framework differently somehow, meaning that it's probably going to take a different tactic to get each of them to remember who they are. That's smart writing. As is this whole Fitz situation. I kind of love what they've done with this. They've taken a character who, for 4 seasons, has pretty much been the show's moral compass, always been opposed to using unnecessary force, always been the first one to show somebody compassion even when they might not deserve it, and they've turned him into the most despicable person in the framework. I mean, when he had a gun to Agnes, I kind of figured he was going to shoot her, because the show has proven that it has balls when it comes to that type of stuff. But I was excited by this because it's just going to make it all the more juicy when Fitz and Simmons and Octopussy all come together. Because they were teasing the whole how is he going to react when he sees Simmons things a couple of times. And it definitely had a subtle effect on him, at least enough to get him to want to learn more about her. But they were careful to leave it in question about whether or not he would snap out of it before he shot Agnes, which is why that scene works so well. Because you're not really sure what he's going to do, unless you know what show you're watching. You know how sadistic these writers can be. However, as powerful as that scene was, at the end of the day, you still know Fitz is only acting like this because Ada has twisted his mind and his memories into a pretzel, so he's as much a victim as anybody else. That's why, for my money, the most heartbreaking stuff was Mac and his daughter. Seeing what he'll go through, everything that he'll do to keep her safe, knowing that there's still that revelation coming when he remembers that she's not real. Have your tissues ready for that one, because that's going to be hard to get through. I'm so interested. Back to Fitz. I'm so interested to see how this happened. We could assume that the regret that Ada changed for Fitz was his dad walking out on him and his mom. And we also know that Ada had Simmons killed before Fitz ever met her. So you swap out the best thing in his life and you swap in the most toxic thing, and it leads to Fitz becoming a monster. We better get to meet Fitz's dad after all this, because I'm really fucking curious about this guy now. And we can also assume that Ada probably put more work into changing Fitz's memories than anybody else, because she's very fixated on him. Yeah, great episode, man. So far, this Agents of Hydra pod is shaping up to be the best story arc of Season 4. This is some really compelling stuff. Great character development, acting, especially with Elizabeth Henstridge. In the last couple episodes, they've just been giving her great stuff. Plot twists as well. Just a really good story they're telling here. And let's get to the chat room. All right. This is turning more and more into Counter-Earth. This is just not the Matrix anymore. They emphasize that on the show. This isn't a computer simulation, it's a parallel universe. I think they're going to be raising that question. I think there was a sneak preview clip where either Mace or Ward are talking to Simmons, and they're saying, "How do you know this isn't the real world and the one that you say you're from, and that's the simulation? How do you know which one is real and which one isn't?" It's the old philosophical debate. How do you know that we're all just not some part of somebody else's dream? You don't. You can't prove it. So, I like that they raise questions like that. They don't even have to necessarily answer them. Just putting the question forth and let people mull it over. Kind of like how Battlestar Galactica always asks the question of, are the Cylons people or are they just machines? And I never really answered it definitively. I was always on the side of, yeah, they're self-aware and they can feel complex emotions and stuff. Therefore, they're people. I think it's this one. It's a little harder to answer because we don't know if most of these people are actually self-aware or if they're just following their programming. So things could change in that regard. We don't know because right now they're still completely unaware that they're just a bunch of ones and zeros, kind of. So we'll see. I think it's intelligent that they're bringing this up because I really like stuff like that. But maybe if they realize that they're in the framework, and maybe they ask like the team not to shut the framework down because they don't want to die. That would be a really interesting dilemma. Like maybe their allies could turn on them as like, well, you're just gonna break the whole thing and shut us down. Well, we're all gonna die at that point. Don't do that, Um, it could be interesting. When are you going to review Impact? After this one, I'm gonna do that today. I'm gonna get through this stream and then rest my voice a little bit, and then we'll do Impact in the afternoon. Let's see. Yeah, Flash fucked up the Flashpoint thing so wildly it's downright scary. Frankly, part of me thinks the Flash writers might have done that intentionally because they just wanted to use the name as a brand and not actually tell the story. Wouldn't surprise me. If they were smart, if they actually cared about doing the storyline justice, they would have done it in season 2. Like I've pointed out multiple times, because that's when it made sense to do it. Do you think Deadpool will have some Thanos jokes? I don't really know. Possibly. I'm so glad Fitz is evil now. I've been waiting for this since season 1, because I expected it since season 1. I want him to choose to stay on Counter-Earth and work for Madam Hydra. Well, then... Well, then Fitz would just leave the show, and that would be stupid. I will agree. I'm enjoying Evil Fitz, too. I said this a while back, ironically also about Fitz, when we were talking about the brain damage from the drowning. I said this, that I have this weird fascination with characters that start out light and comedic and then turn really dark and intense later on. So I'm enjoying the Evil Fitz stuff. I don't think it's going to take. Now, I think they're going to revert back to a normal Fitz at the end of this thing, but he's going to be traumatized from all this. He's going to be fucked up. So he's going to have to recover from that. So he could take a darker turn afterward. I'm not denying that, because I suspect he's going to remember everything afterwards. So he's done some stuff he's going to have to live with, and I really like this too, because like I said, he's the most he's the most compassionate character on the team, and they've turned him into this despicable monster. So it's quite a change, and I'm so interested to see how much Ada had to change to turn him into this, and what the effect is going to be on him afterwards. So I think it's really interesting what they've done with him. Okay, best thing in his life, keep pushing that Fitzsimmons shit, bro, not like it's an annoying terrible couple. Yeah, it's not. Barry and Iris, that's an annoying, terrible couple. That Legion show on FX is like a combination of A Nightmare on Elm Street mixed with Inception, but with mutants. Really cool show. All right, I haven't seen it. People tell me it's good though, so I don't know. Maybe when the season's over, I might binge watch it. I don't know. Should the Marvel TV shows just be their own thing and not have to be in the same universe as the MCU? No, I don't see why. No, they should all be in the same universe. When they're just their own thing, that's when it gets confusing, because you don't know what's in continuity with the MCU and what isn't. I think Fitz is going to want to stay behind with Madam Hydra in their world. Well, I'm sure he will, as long as he doesn't remember his other life. Once he starts to remember it, things are going to change. And I will wait a minute or two to see if anybody else has any questions. New Star Wars trailer dropped yesterday. Did you guys see that? The Last Jedi? Really cool stuff. Perfect trailer, really, because they just give you like a taste without spoiling anything. You get like a hint of what the story is going to be, but otherwise it's just eye candy. And so it gets you excited. It doesn't ruin the whole thing. Like a lot of trailers tend to do these days when they don't when they like, reveal like the entire story. That stuff pisses me off. So yeah, just gonna check. April the giraffe is the #1 trending topic. I feel like I missed something important there. Oh, there it goes. I genuinely think he doesn't care about Earth anymore. He may love Madame Hydra now and give zero fucks about his ex-girlfriend. He's moved on. He's only moved on because he doesn't remember his other life. Because Ada has twisted his mind around and changed all his memories. He doesn't... He's the only reason he's moved on is because he doesn't remember the girl that he moved on from. You think he would have done any of this if he could remember that other life, if he could remember Simmons? No. He doesn't care about Earth anymore because he doesn't remember Earth. Okay, you're twisting the facts around here, man. I understand this is what you want to happen. This is what you want to see happen, but you have to take the actual canon into account. This is just you making stuff up. And okay. All right, I'll give it another minute. Seems like pretty light on the questions here. Not shockingly, because we're doing this on a different day. Okay. Do you think TV and Netflix Marvel characters will ever interact with the film characters? Eventually, possibly. For the short term, I would suspect not, because apparently there's some kind of bad blood between the TV and the film divisions. I think that's why the two divisions were separated a little while back. I don't know. There's some kind of fight or some kind of dust-up between Kevin Feige and whoever's running the TV division. That's why they're separate now, and we haven't really been seeing any crossovers. I think there's a chance that we might see a crossover between the TV and Netflix universes, but the TV, Netflix, and movie crossovers, for the short term, my guess would be no, which really sucks, because I would love to see some crossover there. It's just like they're just leaving money on the table by not doing those. So there's some kind of beef there. Not sure what happened exactly, but they don't want to work together right now. Okay. And I think Flash and Arrow are back next week. Or at least Flash is. God damn it. I really don't want to go back to that show. Ugh, okay, well, it seems like that's about it for questions. So I guess we can call it at this point, and just end the stream, and I can get the Impact stream going in a little bit. Want to rest my voice in between, because it just doesn't last very long these days. And also I have to go to the dump, and I want to get something to eat. So if nobody has any more questions, I'll wrap this up, and I'll go do some real life stuff for an hour or two, and then we can come back and talk about some wrestling. So thanks for joining me. Sorry we're doing this on a Saturday instead of the usual time. I had to work on Thursday night. It's just stuff happens sometimes and it gets in the way. So I will talk to you guys in, I don't know, 2 hours, maybe 3, maybe one. I don't know. All right, last question. I think Fox will give up the Fantastic Four eventually, but Deadpool and the X-Men are staying put. Yeah, most likely. I could see Fox just like kind of throwing up their hands and saying "fuck it" about the Fantastic Four because they've done 3 movies. They've all been really bad, and I don't see how they could have possibly made money with those things. I guess the first one must have made money if they made a sequel, but they've all been pretty shit. So they could probably just yeah, I could see them just giving up on Fantastic Four. Deadpool and X-Men, yeah, those aren't going anywhere, which sucks because in the comics the X-Men are just getting treated like shit by Marvel these days because they don't own the movie rights, and that's why the Inhumans have been elevated above the X-Men in the comics since then, which it sucks. I don't dislike the Inhumans, but I grew up on the X-Men, man. It hurts to see them being treated like this. And also, I mean, I haven't been liking what they've been doing with the X-Men for a while anyway. But I definitely would love to see what the X-Men would love to see the X-Men in the MCU where they belong. It's really unfortunate that that's not going to happen. I really want to see Marvel get that license back, but it's just. All 3 made money. Even Fit Four Stick? Really? Third was problematic according to liberals. Yeah, yeah, I'll bet. Uh, all 3 made money. The Tim Story Fantastic Four movies made money. Wow, that hurts. I don't even understand that at all. Those were bad movies. Anyway, I'm just rambling at this point, so I'll wrap it up at that point. Again, thanks for tuning in on a Saturday. I will see you guys in a couple hours for the Impact stream, and yeah, talk to you soon. Peace out.